Hello, everybody. In this class today is Pilates Reformer, and there will be a core and upper body focus with it. So I am on a balanced body, Allegro to Reformer. You might have a different reformer that you're working on. So just kind of be mindful. I'll try to say heavy or light springs versus the colors if you're on a different reformer, just to kind of help you with that. But I'm going to encourage you and assume that you know your reformer and can make adjustments as needed. So a few other things before we get going. So I am on a hard surface. We'll be doing lunges towards the end. I have grippy mats here. So if you're on a hard surface, you may want to bring those in as needed. Another thing you can do with the grippy mat, and this is just, contact mat that you can get to put in your cabinets that I've cut to fit the shape. If you're not really strong in your core muscles and you know that you have trouble keeping the pelvis even, when you move your legs around and doing different things, then it might be beneficial to you to just kind of take something like this and fold it in half. And you can do this with a washcloth or a hand towel as well. And you would just put this under the low back to help you kind of stabilize it a little bit as we do the movement. And then as you become stronger in the core muscles, you won't need that. If you've watched my mat work videos, you know that I love to have my little lumbar support when we're doing roll ups and roll downs. So this is an entire contact roll here that I have folded up to fit my needs. And as I've aged, like this, folded up as a little additional head pillow from the headrest here. And then if I feel unstable in the low back for a particular day and I'm doing something that's just real easy for me to grab and put it under my lumbar as needed. So just a couple little things here. If you need those little tips, otherwise, we're going to start standing. And we're just going to do a little bit of movement here before we move on the reformer. So I'm just going to start. Actually, let's just do parallel hip width apart. So I'm just zipping up nice and tight. I'm going to take the arms out and reach up and just get a nice side bend here. And you can just go to where you can go. Avoid this forward collapse. It's going to be nice and open. You also want to keep the hips over the ankles. We don't want to do this movement. And just reach and coming back up in a body wave. And we're just going to round and open. And if you need a side view of that, I'm rounding and I'm opening and rounding and opening. And see if you can get some rotation in the shoulders here as you do that. Good. And round and open. Good. From here, let's start with some roll downs. So these are reformer roll downs that I like to do. So I'm making sure that if you're using balanced body, this is one red spring. If you're using a different reformer, I would use light to medium springs here. And I'm going to come all the way in where my legs are touching the back of this reformer. And everybody's belly on this one touches the foot bar. It doesn't mean anything other than the fact that your belly is touching the bar. So no worries about that. But I'm going to zip up. I'm going to take my arms up overhead. So this is kind of like a standing roll down when we dive over the beach ball. So I'm going to keep my arms and ears. Good. I'm looking at my target, which is the edge of my reformer carriage. I'm going to take my hands here, and then I'm going to press out and lengthen like I would come into a downward facing dog. So my ears are staying by the bicep. And then I'm going to round. I'm going to come part way in, but not all the way in. And then I'm going to press that back out again and reach. Good. And always adjust the tension as you need it. So my one red spring is pretty strong, but I'm strong enough to do that. Some people might need something a little bit less there. Good. And one more time. Good. We'll take this out. Good. Reaching, lengthening. Good. Now I'm looking at my spring notches here as I come back in. Good. And then pressing down through the feet. I'm going to roll up. My legs are taking the load and maybe just open into a little back bend. Good. And so then from here, we'll do this on the other end. Now, if you've not done this before, I'm going to recommend going to a lighter spring. So maybe a blue spring if you're on a balanced body machine. If you're super strong and more experienced, you can totally leave that red spring in. So watch your feet here. I'm going to step on the inside. But I want to come far enough back where when I'm bending my knees and I take my arms forward, I've got a flat back here. Okay. And my legs are pressing up against the rail. Good. So now from here, when I round, like if I'm going into a cat position, then the rounding of the spine is what pulls the carriage towards me. So if you notice here, my arms are nice and long. So I'm not pulling like this. I'm just letting the core muscles of the back in the midsection do this work. Now I'm also using leg work here as well. Good. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, round. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, round. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale, round. Now, if you like this, you can stay here, working center. Let's work the obliques just a little bit here. I'm going to take my right hand on top of my left hand. Nothing else changes. 4 times. I'm going to round and lengthen. And exhale and inhale. And you really want to on that exhale. It really engages. Good. Now we'll come back to center. Let's do 1 through center to reset. Now it's going to be the left hand on top of the right. And here we go. And round and lengthen. And inhale. Exhale 1 more time. Exhale and inhale. Good. 1 through center to reset. Good. We'll lengthen. And then from here, hands to the thighs. And walk that back up. Good. Let's take a big inhale and reach. And exhale, open up into that nice little back. All right. We're going to carefully step out of here. Watch your feet with the straps and cords. And then we're going to come and set up for some footwork. So I'm going to come to 3 reps. That's what I do for my footwork. So heavier springs, but always make adjustments according to your body. So if you've got osteoporosis or something like that, you might want a lighter spring set. I've also adjusted my foot bar to my personal settings as well as my head reps, and I'm ready to go. So I'm going to lie down here. Good. And just making sure I can reach everything. Good. Before I start my footwork, I like to take my heels on the bar about hip width apart. I'm zipping up and in, and I'm just gently windshield wipering from side to side. Good. And just go at your range of motion. Kind of loosens up the back a little bit here. It loosens up the hips just a little bit as well. Good. And then coming back to center. Let's start with balls of the feet on in Pilates V. So I'm wrapping my toes around my bar. Got a 5th width apart between the toes. My knees are shoulder width apart. Before I get going, I'm just going to roll my shoulders back. So I want a nice wide collarbone. I want to zip up through that front body. I want the tailbone and the low rib cage to be connected and heavy on my carriage. And then with a big inhale to prepare, exhale. And inhale. And 2. Really try to zip up those legs. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'm going to come back in. Now, I didn't cue it on that one, but those of you with more experience, if you want a little bit extra challenge here, you can always practice squeezing the glutes around the gluteal folds when you press back. If you're newer, just focus on the breath and the choreography, and then you can add the glute engagement later. So everything is together parallel. Inhale, exhale. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Good. I'm going to come back into the stopper from the hip. Everything's going to turn inward. We've got that internal, that medial rotation. If you've got a little back issue, you can keep a little space between the toes here. Knees are together when you're at the stopper. They should naturally separate as you press away. And we'll go 8, 7, 6, pressing evenly into both feet. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then we'll come back in. Good. From here, I'm going to separate everything parallel, hip width apart. We're going to do this next one in high half toe, high half toe. So we're going to lift those heels nice and high, like we're wearing high heel shoes or a Barbie doll feet, as I sometimes like to use. Heels are going to stay lifted the whole time. And big inhale to prepare. Exhale, 8, 7, 6. These are harder. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'm going to hold this out here. We're going to go to prancing. So I'm just going to let one heel come underneath and switch. You want to work the full range of motion in the ankle here. So you really want to have the other heel lift up and the other heel come underneath there before going to the other side. You're pressing into both feet as you change sides. So you should kind of meet, the legs should be long beside each other at a brief moment when you're doing this correct. Now, you can stay here nice and slow. It does present its own challenge. And if you're newer, this is where I recommend you stay. If you're more experienced, you can pick that up a little bit more into some running. Hips are going to stay even. They don't shift. Good. And you're still working that full range of motion in that ankle. You should be feeling a stretch each side as you go through here. And we're still zipped up and in through that center line of the front body. Tailbone and low rib cage being connected and wide through the collarbone. Now let's slow this down a little bit here. Good. And then I'm just going to let the left heel come underneath. Want a nice deep stretch. See if you can think about taking this left heel under there about a millimeter more. Big breath. Breathing is important in your stretching, not just with your movement. And we'll switch sides. About that millimeter more. And both legs long, bend the knees, and come back in. Now, last one we're going to do here, we're going to take the feet to the corners of the foot bar. So now we're in an external rotation, a lateral rotation. And I'm going to do this one in high half toe as well. If you've had enough of high half toe that was too heavy or too much for you, you can just let the heels relax here. But I'm going to be up here. Good. Rolling the shoulders back. And here we go. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And I'm going to bring this back in. Once I'm at the stopper, taking knees into the chest, just rolling the ankles in one direction and then in the other. We're going to come into some bridging now. So for bridging, I do like a flat back or flat neck. So I'm just going to take this to the side here. And I'm going to bring my headrest down. Now I'm going to leave this on 3 reds because I'm not going to be pushing back here today. I'm going to stay at the stopper. So just kind of be mindful of that. So I've got my heels on. Heel placement matters. The more you kind of come down onto the foot, the harder you will make this. So be mindful. I'm going to roll my shoulders back. When we bridge, we don't want to just press with the feet. We want to press with the arms and the shoulders as well. That helps keeping us from pushing back when we bridge. So from here, when you're ready, we're just going to look straight up towards the ceiling. Inhale, exhale. Good. Now, while you're up here, notice, did you come away from the stopper? And if you're taller, you might have to a little bit. But if you're not particularly tall and you move, could you engage the hamstrings and like you're moving your knees more forward to stay here? And then we'll lower that back down. Yes. So if you got a cramp, that's okay, completely normal. Just kind of take a break, take a stretch, come back into it. We're going to do this 5 more times. So when you're ready now, taking it straight up, pressing into the arms and the shoulders, lift up through that chest and lower down. Now, if you want to lift straight up, you can do that. If you're okay with it and want to, let's roll up bone by bone. So zipping up nice and tight to that front body. I'm going to rock back through the sacrum, through the lumbar, through the rib cage, all the way up through that mid back. And then I'm going to lower from the mid back, through the rib cage, through the lumbar, through the sacrum, and back to my safe neutral. Let's go for 4. Rocking back through the sacrum, through the lumbar, through the rib cage, up to the mid back, pressing up through that chest, and then lowering from the mid back, through the rib cage, through the lumbar, through the sacrum, and back to safe neutral. 1 more. Rocking back through the sacrum, through the lumbar, through the rib cage, up to that mid back, lifting up through that chest, pressing into the arms and the shoulders, and lowering down from the mid back, through the rib cage, through the lumbar, through the sacrum, and back to the safe neutral. Good. Take your hands behind that left leg, travel up, get a nice little stretch. You can point and flex here, keeping the foot toes towards the face will give you the deepest stretch. Good. And when that's kind of relaxed down a little bit here, you can switch sides. This is my tighter side today. Reach. Good. And again, once you feel some release from that right hamstring, then you can release here. So there's several ways you can transition. We're going to change our springs. The easiest way is rolling over to your side and pressing yourself up to a seat. Good. An intermediate way, you can take your leg over the foot bar. You can do it that way. I like to take one leg under and one leg over and attaching at the heels here. Okay. Or not the heels, but the ankle. And then arms up. Inhale, exhale, nod the chin. Rolling up and coming all the way up. Okay. The other way, you can also put padding under here if you need that to roll up, and some people don't need that at all. So because we're done with inversion, I'm going to let my headrest come back up. I'm going to put my little pad there. I'm going to go to a red and a blue. A red and a blue. So that's one heavy and one more medium type of a spring. If you're really stronger, you could do this with 2 reds. Absolutely. If you're not as strong, maybe you've got a shoulder issue that's kind of cranky or something like that, maybe do this on a red and a yellow or just a red. Some people might need to just do the motion without hands in the straps to get used to it as well. So just always make the modifications that work for your body. Good. I'm going to come back down here. So I'm going to reach behind. I'm going to grab my straps. So I've got two straps on my straps on this machine. I've got a shorter loop and a longer loop. Longer loop is easier than the shorter loop. So be mindful of that. And you always want to push away from the foot bar to take your hands over here. We don't want to pull from the back. That strains the shoulder or the rotator cuff is what I'm trying to say here. Good. So we want the hands directly over the shoulders from here, one knee at a time. So we're in that tabletop position. Good. So I'm going to stay right here. Zipping up nice and tight. Big inhale. Exhale. Pulling straight down. Also notice here as you work, what are your wrists doing? You want a nice long wrist, nice long line from the shoulder to the fingertips. So when we come down, we don't want the fingertips to do something like this. Okay, so adjust your strap, adjust your springs accordingly so that you can get a nice long line here. Always exhaling on the pull down. One more time. And then we're going to pause. Turning the hands towards the hips. We're going to take this out into a T press. So arms are going to come out to the side. Again, not too far back. Exhale. So a good test, you should be able to see your hands in your peripheral vision. If you cannot, they are out too wide. Again, watch the rotator cuff here. Inhale. Good. My gaze is to my mid-thigh. And good, I'm going to pause here. My palms are going to turn down. I'm going to bend the elbows. They've got a nice long line from the fingertips to the elbows. Elbows are in tight towards the body. You can do this in a hover or connected to the carriage. Do what works best for you. And then from here, exhale and inhale. And inhale. Exhale and inhale. Stop the wrist right over the elbows. Try not to go all the way back here. Good. And one more time. Good. From here, let's take this into some circles. Palms face the hips, arms out, come up and pull down. Again, be careful how far you come out, where you come up. Always be mindful. I keep harping on that because I know people who consistently practice not paying attention to that, and they got little tears in the rotator cuff. Nobody's got time for that. So be mindful of your form. It really does matter. Next time you pull down, we're going to pause. We're going to lift up, out to the side, and pull in. Lift up to the side, pull in, up, out, pull. And one more time. And come up, one foot at a time to the foot bar, allowing yourself to come into the stopper, maybe getting a little bit of a break here. Now, I did not take any breaks during that set. So if you're doing this at home and you had to take one, that's okay. Always take a break if you feel tension in this hip crease area that you can't get rid of. So if you've tried zipping up in, again, that's an area of week 4 here. Other muscles are taking over, and that hasn't given you relief. Always take a break. As the core becomes stronger, that will become less and less of a problem. So now we're going to do hundreds. Let's do hundreds first. So again, I'm pressing away from the foot bar. I'm finding that optimal placement. Knees and tabletop. Now you can keep the knees and tabletop here, or you can take your legs up to the ceiling or anywhere along the diagonal line, as long as you can maintain that nice neutral spine. So if you're going to take your legs long, you'll follow me. Otherwise, you can stay here. Big inhale. Exhale, I'm going to C-curve it up. This is where you can stay, and this is where you can go. Eyes to the side, start pumping. And we inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, relax the shoulders from the ears. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, lift up higher. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, reach deeper. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, hold. Lift the chest higher, reach deeper through the arms, and take that down. So remember, over time, when you do that, you don't want the carriage to move much. So it's small, tight, little flutter movement. Okay? Let's slip our feet into the strap. Be mindful if you've got a hip or a back issue, you might need a lighter spring here. Those of you that are stronger and more experienced might want a little bit heavier springs here. So always adjust according to your needs. I'm in the long loop. Another option for those of you with more experience is flipping the feet into the short loops for something a little bit different. There's nothing wrong with that. Good. Make sure your straps are even on both feet. You do not want the strap higher on one foot and lower on the other. Good. So from here, I'm going to take my legs to my diagonal line where I can maintain my neutral spine. Again, put a pad under here if you need that support. Rolling the shoulders back, wide through the collarbone, heavy and anchored at the tailbone and the low rib cage. Tailbone never leaves this carriage as I lift. I've got a micro bend in the knees, pulling from the glutes, using those abs to pull down. And lift. And lower. And lift. And lower. Really get that core online. Yes, this is lower body work. This is also core work. We're moving our legs from the core. And then we'll inhale. And exhale. And inhale. And exhale and pause. Keeping legs together. We're going to inhale to bend. Lead with the heel. Try not to let the shins and everything drop down. Keep that nice parallel line. Lead with the heel as you press out. Inhale to come in. Exhale, press. Inhale, come in. Exhale, press. Inhale, in. Exhale, press. Inhale, in. One more time like this. Exhale, press. Inhale, in. Now press long. Here's our circles. You can take these as wide as you can as long as you're in control. You want the symmetry of the legs here. You don't want one leg out ahead of the other. Open and come down. Watch your legs. Very common to turn out. Toes, knees, and hips. You want to keep towards the ceiling here. Good. In this parallel rotation. And so if you're just starting out, really pay attention to toes, knees, and hips facing the ceiling. It is a beast of a habit to get out of later as you progress. If you start off compensating by going out into the external rotation when you're trying to work in the parallel. Now coming together and we're going to pause. We're going to open, lift up, and come together. Another tip here, if you're just starting, very common, is a hamstring cramp. That will go away with time and practice as your hamstrings become looser. But if you do get a cramp, you do want to take a break. Never work through a cramp. As I like to say, if you work through a cramp, you'll put a cramp in the rest of your day. It does not help you. Good. Up and exhale. Good. Now, from the hips, I'm going to turn everything inward, internal. If you've got a little bit of a back issue again, you keep a little space between the toes. Also, if you want a little bit more challenge, you can keep space between the toes because then your challenge is to keep your feet even and one foot can't come along for the ride with the other. So find what you need here. I will be touching my toes together though. Good. Inhale. Exhale. Remember, tailbone stays anchored. Pelvis does not rock forward and back. And inhale. And exhale. And one more time. And inhale. And exhale. Let's take this into a bend. Knees are together on the bend. Exhale. They separate a little bit because of this rotation. Inhale. Exhale. Still leading with the heel. Inhale. Exhale. Should be awkward, but not painfully awkward. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Good. These circles may bigger than the width of your foot bar here. We'll take it out, come up and come in. Good. So you're staying in the internal rotation, hips, knees, and toes, turning the whole time. Be mindful that the rotation comes from the hip. We're not twisting at the knees ever. Always rotate from the hips, and the knees and the feet will come along for the right. Good. Now from here, I'm gonna pull down. We're gonna reverse that. And as you get used to your body moving here, also notice if maybe one rotation is easier or harder for you than another. When you do the circles, is one direction easier or harder for you than the other? All normal things. Good. And one more time. Good. Now, from here, I'm going to come to my Pilates V. So just like we were on the foot bar, heels are together. You've got that fist width apart between the two big toes. Some people like to flex. Some people like to point. I like to be somewhere in between because that helps me avoid a foot cramp. So just kind of be where you need to be here with the feet. And we'll inhale and lift. And you can get a nice special inner thigh engagement here if you really squeeze those heels together. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale and exhale. Good. Going into the frog, we're going to bend. Knees are shoulder width apart. Lead with that heel still as you go forward. Inhale, bend. Exhale, stretch. Inhale, bend. Exhale, stretch. Inhale, bend. Exhale, stretch. Use your glutes and your core muscles to get you there. Exhale, stretch. One more time. Inhale, bend. And exhale, stretch. These circles might be your widest, but only if you're in control. Only if you're in control. Be in control. So we're going to come up. Tailbone stays on. Come out, down, and come together. How low your legs go depends on where you're able to go while staying in safe neutral. So I can come pretty low with my legs here, but I've also been practicing for a long time. In the beginning, I could not come that low. Most people wouldn't even consider me coming very low at all. You just do what you can. You know, practice makes progress. And again. And one more time. Good. And then we'll come up. We're going to reverse that direction, taking it down, out, up, and come together. Exhale, down and out. Inhale on the lift and together. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And inhale. Good. Let's take this into a stretch here. So I'm just going to let the legs come out wide, a nice adductor stretch, holding on to the row. Yummy, yummy, yummy. You can test your core strength a little bit here too if you want to rock the stretch. So the goal here, if you rock it, is try not to let the carriage move. Try not to let the carriage move. Good. And when you're ready, good. We're going to take this back up. I'm going to keep my tailbone on the carriage as I get this double hamstring stretch here. My toes are pointing towards my face. Breathe and expand. Good. And then I'm going to bend the knees. We take one foot at a time out. That foot comes all the way to the foot bar, and then take out the other one. Okay, we're going to hang up the strap here. Again, choose the transition to come up as you needed. So for this one, I'm just going to roll over to the side and come up here. Okay. We're going to get back into upper body now. My hair is all goofy. That's okay. So I'm going to, because we're going to face the foot bar first, I'm going to come to one blue spring. So this is a lighter spring. And I'm just going to, just for easy reaching, of course that didn't work very well, it still dropped my strap. Also make sure your straps are not twisted. That will make anything harder than it needs to be. So because I'm doing this more of a beginner style, I'm going to do this crisscross applesauce. Okay. You can also take your legs straight forward. Some of you on these can take your legs out to the side if that feels better to you. And those of you with more experience, you're welcome to come up on your knees. If you've never done this before, I don't recommend starting there. That's a face plant waiting to happen. You need that core strength and control. So I'm going to reach behind and grab my straps, short or long loops. So I'm going to come into my short loops. Good. And I want to sit nice and tall. So if you'll notice, I'm not sitting right up against my shoulder rest because that gives me the tendency to kind of want to slouch here. And I want to be nice and supported with my own muscles. So my palms are facing my foot bar, and I'm going to start them right in front of my hips. I'm sitting up nice and tall. Here we go. And we'll go inhale about shoulder height-ish and exhale. That's actually, let's try that. Let's go exhale. I like that better. And inhale. And exhale. Move from the abdominals and come down. Think about your abs working as you move the arms forward. And then we're going to take this forward and we're going to pause. I'm going to turn my hands toward each other. I've got a micro bend in my elbows. We're going to come into hug a tree. Inhale to open again. You want to see your hands and your peripheral. Exhale and close. You're using your core. Chest is not coming forward and we're not collapsing anymore. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Good. From here, we're going to take this into a single arm press. So I'm going to bend here. Good. I'm going to take my hands right at my shoulders, actually just so that you can see. And you can do this in the short loop, but you can see a little bit better in my long loops. That's what I'm going to do here. So I'm sitting up nice and tall. Good. I'm going to push straight forward. This is my right arm. I'm not rotating and I'm coming back. And then the left. Good. And right. And left. Now let's add rotation. Right hand's going to rotate towards the left corner of your foot bar and come to center. Nice and tall spine, twisting with length. And back to center. And right. And center. And left. And center. One more time each side. And right. And center. And left. And center. Good. I'm going to put these here. Good. I'm going to change my spring. I'm going to add a red onto my blue. So I'm on one red and one blue. We're going to go to some knee stretch preps and then some long stretch preps from here. So if you're newer, not real strong in a core, I absolutely recommend starting at the red and the blue. If you're stronger in the core, you have more experience, you can go to lighter springs here. For the purposes of what we're going to do, I'm going to move my foot bar back. I had it on 3. I'm going to lift up. I'm going to move it back to 2. Good. And then from here, good. I'm going to come up on my knees and always add knee cushion if you need to. So we're going to do knee stretch prep with a flat back, So my feet are up against the shoulder rest here. And I'm going to shift my hips back. Notice I'm not moving the carriage. I'm not pushing away. I'm just shifting my hips back. Okay. Hips don't have to touch the feet. You're just going in that direction and I'm zipped up. My shoulders are away from the ears, so I'm protracted like I'm doing a plank. Now from here, I'm going to push my feet into the carriage and take it out. There's my inhale. Exhale. I'm only moving from the lower body. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. This is what I see people do a lot in class. They're trying to do this. This is not an upper body exercise in that way. You're pitching with the feet, and then you're dragging the knees back in. Good. Pushing with the feet, stable upper body. Exhale, bring that back in. Good. Now, long spine or long stretch prep. We're going to take the hands to your platform. Okay. So you're on all fours here. Now I cue this a little bit differently, and you'll see why here in a minute. So from here, it's like the knee stretch prep. I'm going to take the knees out from the shoulders. I'm going to press back. Shoulders, I'm going to come forward. Shoulders stop over the wrist, and knees are going to come in. I'm actually going to take this down a little bit here. So on this one, a heavier spring will be easier on the core, but it's a beast on the shoulder. So maybe come to a red and a yellow here to start. Okay. So now from here, what I like to say is knee, shoulder, shoulder, knee. And I cue it this way just to help people get the choreography down. But you take it out. Good. And then come in and in. Good. So taking it out, press away. You're coming back in. Shoulders stop over the wrist, and knees come in. And knees. And shoulder. And shoulder. And knees. And one more time. Knees. Shoulder. Shoulder. And knees. Take your feet on the inside there. Find a little child's pose. Let's take this, some upper body, towards the police. So from here, I'm going to come to one red spring. Good. If you're a little stronger, you can add a yellow onto that. If you're not as strong or not sure, come to a blue or a blue and a yellow. So from here, good. Again, if you're more advanced, you can be on the knees, but you can be crisscross applesauce. You can stick your legs through here. You can also have your legs out to the side. So in the beginning, we sit how we need to sit to where we're comfortable. And I'm going to be crisscross applesauce. So grabbing my straps. Here, I recommend coming into the short loops or holding up at the flat part of your straps. Okay, so I'm going to kind of come a little bit in between there. Good. So we're going to start with some chest expansion. Chest expansion. So I'm going to start right in front of my hip. Good. Sitting up nice and tall. My shoulders are down. Here we go. 1. Inhale. Exhale. 2. Really get those triceps going. Exhale. 3. And 4. And 5. And 6. Can you hold it back? They're little pulses. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Woo! That's challenging with the pulses. Rolling that back. I'm going to come into the short loops here. Going into some bicep curls. It's easier the lower you take your elbows. The higher you take your elbows, not exceeding shoulder height, the harder you will make this. So take it to where you need to take it. I'm going to kind of come mid-range here. And I'm going to fully extend. And here we go. Exhale. And take it down. Watch your wrists here. Wrists don't curl. They stay nice and long. Good. And exhale. Try not to lean back. Sit nice and tall. And then one more time. Good. And then once you're ready, we'll lean back. From here, you can stay in the short loops. I'm going to come back to the flat part, and we're going to do some rowing. So we're going to do this a couple different ways. So I'm going to lift up no higher than shoulders. Good. I'm pulling back. Elbows stay in tight towards the body. And I'm really taking my elbows back like I'm trying to wrap my shoulder blades around my spine and taking it forward. Exhale. And inhale. Exhale. Inhale. One more. Good. Now, from here, we're going to add on, make that a little bit more challenging. If what we did was enough of challenge, so stay there. But I'm crossing straps. It does not matter which strap is on top or on bottom. You're going to get the same challenge. So here we go again. And pull. Feels great. And 2. We'll do a little bit more of these. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Good. And release. We'll undo the strap. We'll hang the straps back up. Let's take this into some lunges, also known as Eve's lunges here. And we'll do these kind of progressively. Okay. So you can always bring in a knee cushion here. I am on one red spring. So I'm going to make sure that my foot, this is really important for knee placement. Make sure your foot is far enough forward. So I've got my toes. You may not see them from the camera, but they're in alignment with this front leg of the reformer here. Good. Now, more advanced people might do different things, but I'm going to keep this pretty simple for right now. Good. So I want to be up as tall as I can. I want to square off my hips. Good. 1 or 2 hands on the reformer. You're pushing from the back. You're pushing from the carriage. We're not pushing from the foot bar. Good. And this knee, as best as you can, comes over behind the ankle. I'm driving through this hip and heel as I come back in. Good. And we'll go back to belly button is in, nice and tight. And 3. Good. And 4. I'm going to hold this one here. You can keep both hands on the bar, but if you're safe to take one away, keep your right hand on the bar because I'm on the left side. Left arm's going to come up. I'm going to get a side bend here towards the center. Breathing and expanding. And coming back up. Good. For this one, both hands will be on the reformer. You can keep the whole foot down or rock back on the heel. So again, same form. We're nice and tall, proud chest. Hips are squared. We're going to come back, keep a micro bend in this knee. We want it to not be locked as you come back in. And 2. And 3. And 4. We'll hold it, relaxing the shoulders. Good. How far back you come matters not. This is an excellent stretch. I would recommend practicing if full splits are in your future endeavors. And then we'll come back up. Good. Since we're on this side, let's go ahead and take a mermaid here. Good. So traditionally, you're in a Z. So I've got my left shin here up against, my foot is on the outside of this headrest, and this leg is here. If your hips or knees won't do that, you can always take your legs off to the side here, okay? So just be mindful. You can always do things to make things work. So I've got my hand on my foot bar. I'm a little forward of the shoulder. I'm going to lift up. I'm going to press away and reach. And with that nice long line, as best as I can. Good. And then we'll come up. Once we're back in the stopper, we'll counter stretch over, reaching long. Good. Coming back up, hand on the bar, forward of the shoulder. We're going to press away and reach, nice and long. This time we're going to rotate towards the foot bar. So both of my hands can touch the foot bar, and I just took them shoulder width apart. I want my ears by my biceps. Good. So the hand that I just put on the foot bar, I'm going to pull with that one. I'm going to push with the other one. So it's like an oppositional push-pull stretch. Breathe and expand. I feel this all the way down the left side of my back here. This is the side I'm pulling. Good. Now from here, we'll back off that stretch. If deep extension is accessible to you, look forward. We'll come up, rolling the shoulders back, finding extension, pressing it all the way out, finding that length. Good. And that kind of backhand, if you will, is going to slide forward. We'll open to the side. We'll move through center. And we'll counter stretch. Good. Nice stretch. And then coming up from here, from a nice tall spine, we're going to rotate and find that other twist here. Breathing and expanding. And then when you're ready, we're going to take that all to the other side so we're nice and balanced. So I'm just going to take my legs off to the side, coming up. Good. We'll start off with the lunges, so we'll start it the same way. Good. So again, making sure that forefoot is right in line with the edge of that front leg. Cushion your knee as you need to. Good. Squaring off the hips, zipping up that front body. Good. And when you're ready, you're going to push the carriage back. 1. Driving through the foreleg, hip and heel as you come back in. And we'll press back. 2. Drive through hip and heel as you come back in. And 3. Drive through hip and heel of the foreleg as you come back up. And 4. We'll hold here. Remember, you don't have to go too far back. You just want to feel the stretch right here. Good. One hand can stay there. Outside hand's going to come up. Get a side bend towards the inside of the reformer. Then coming up, and we'll come back in. Good. Both hands can be here. We're going to get that hamstring stretch. Whole foot can stay on the floor or rocking back on the heel. And coming back, we've got 1. And coming in. 2. 3. Good. And 4. We'll hold this one. Again, you don't have to come too far back. Just come to where you feel the stretch. It's okay not to look like me. And then we'll come back in. Good. Now, my back is going to be to you, so apologies about that. But we'll do mermaid on this side. So you want to try to sit the same way on both sides, okay? So I did the Z on the other side. I'm going to do the Z on this side. Good. So my foot bar hand is going to come a little forward of the shoulder. Reach, press away and reach nice and long. Find your length. Coming up. Counter stretch over. Coming up, hand on the foot bar, a little forward of the shoulder. Press away and reach. Good. We'll rotate here. Good. Hands are going to come shoulder width apart. Ears are by the biceps. Oppositional push-pull. So the hand I just put on the bar, I'm going to pull with that one, pushing with the other one. Good. Feeling this all the way down the right side of my back now. Good. And then once you're ready, good. If extension is okay for you, we'll look forward. We'll come up and in. You may or may not touch the stopper with the carriage. That is okay. I'm day to day on that myself. And then we'll press that all the way out. Good. Your back hand is going to slide forward, opening to the side, move through center, counter stretch over. Coming up to a tall seat, twisting from that length, rotating in the opposite direction. Okay. And then from here, we're going to come in. Thank you so much for joining me today for this Pilates Reformer class with a core and upper body focus with a little bit of lower body sprinkled in as well. I hope you got what you needed, and I'll see you again soon.